Everyone is so certain that life is withholding something from them, that somewhere behind the curtain of ordinary reality lies a grand revelation waiting to be uncovered. But imagine this. What if the curtain itself is the illusion? What if the very desire to lift it is what prevents you from seeing what is already here? Humanity has built entire religions, philosophies, and sciences on the assumption that truth is hidden. Yet, the truth is so close, so immediate, that the mind in its constant movement keeps overlooking it. The seeker spends a lifetime wandering through scriptures, teachers, systems, and methods, hoping that somewhere, someone will finally whisper the secret word that cracks open the universe. But when you finally meet those who are called awakened, they don't speak of hidden realms or forbidden wisdom. They smile, almost amused, because they see that the secret everyone longs for is the simplicity of this moment. The sound you hear right now, the breath entering your lungs, the awareness that perceives, this is the knowledge you've been chasing. But you've been too busy chasing to notice. The irony is divine. The harder you look for enlightenment, the further it retreats, not because it hides, but because seeking assumes its absence. And every search implies a seeker. Every seeker implies a lack. And that very lack is the dream you're trying to escape. The awakened ones don't know something extra. They've simply stopped adding. They see without commentary, without the mind's constant attempt to name and control. What they know is what remains when all knowing ends. The obvious shining simplicity of being itself. That is the secret that cannot be told, because the moment it is spoken, it turns back into another idea, another object for the mind to chase. The so-called secret knowledge is not something to be learned or acquired. It is not hidden in a temple, encoded in a text, or guarded by an enlightened few. It is the simplest of realizations, that what you call reality is a reflection shaped entirely by your own mind. Every word, every concept, every label you've ever used stands between you and what is. You think you see the world, but you are only seeing the meanings you've assigned to it. A projection of memory and language masquerading as truth. The enlightened person hasn't gained new information. They've lost the need for interpretation. Their eyes are naked, free from the haze of judgment, story, and belief. They don't see something extraordinary. They see the ordinary, without distortion. When you look at a mountain, you see mountain, height, rock, majestic. The awakened one sees light, form, shadow, texture, pure being before the mind intervenes. This is why enlightenment feels both vast and intimate. Vast, because it reveals the infinite detail of existence, and intimate because it was never separate from you. Most people believe their thoughts are windows to the world, but they are mirrors reflecting only themselves. The awakened person realizes that thought is not reality, it's commentary on reality, an endless echo. Once you stop mistaking the echo for the sound, the fog clears. The tree, the breath, the silence, the heartbeat, everything stands revealed in its raw, sacred simplicity. The world doesn't change. You do. You begin to see that nothing was ever hidden except by your insistence on naming, defining, and believing. And when all those filters fall away, life itself becomes the revelation you've been searching for. Not a secret to uncover, but a mystery to perceive, directly, wordlessly, completely. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a dark room, and before you burns a single candle. Its flame dances alive, trembling between creation and extinction. Most people look at it and immediately translate it into thought. Fire, warmth, danger, light. The mind rushes in like a narrator who can't stay silent, replacing experience with explanation. And in that instant the flame vanishes as a living reality and becomes only a concept. You are no longer watching the fire, you are watching your idea of it. This is how the human mind treats the entire world. It doesn't meet life directly. It mediates it through symbols, words, judgments, and memories. It was like reading a restaurant menu and mistaking the printed descriptions for the actual taste of food. You might know every ingredient, every recipe, but the knowing is dry, sterile, lifeless compared to one single bite. That is the tragedy of ordinary consciousness. to live surrounded by symbols, never touching the raw pulse of existence itself. The secret knowledge is not a secret at all. It's the rediscovery of direct experience, the ability to see without commentary, to feel without interpretation, to be present without dividing observer and observed. When you look at the flame without words, something astonishing happens. It stops being an object out there and becomes a movement of light within the same field of awareness that you are. The boundary dissolves. The flame and the one perceiving it are part of the same mysterious process. This is what it means to taste reality instead of describing it. To see that the world doesn't need your labels to exist, that every sound, color, and sensation is already complete before you think about it. The secret is so obvious that it hides in plain sight. Reality doesn't need to be understood to be alive. It only needs to be seen. Since childhood, we've been conditioned to live through representations rather than reality itself. We are taught to cling to names, to systems, to definitions, to live in the comfort of abstraction. Words become our world. We bow before symbols as if they were sacred, mistaking them for the essence they point to. We collect maps, theories, and beliefs, proudly displaying them as proof of understanding, while the territory, the raw, living experience, remains untouched beneath our feet. The tragedy is subtle yet immense. We don't experience life, we experience our idea of life. When you meet a person, you meet a label: friend, stranger, threat, opportunity. When you look at a tree, you see a resource, an aesthetic, a species. The immediacy of being is replaced by interpretation, and so existence becomes filtered, diluted, second-hand. The so-called secret knowledge has nothing to do with acquiring mystical ideas or higher philosophies. It is the art of subtraction. It is not enlightenment through accumulation, but through undoing. The real awakening happens not when you know more, but when you stop believing that knowledge can contain reality. Because what you truly are cannot be contained by thought, thought can only orbit it. When the mind stops worshipping its own images, when it ceases to confuse reflection with light, something ancient and quiet emerges: being itself. Not the concept of being, not the word or idea, but the naked fact of existence, immediate, self-evident, radiant. This is the essence behind every symbol, the silence behind every word, the awareness behind every thought. And once you see that, you realize that the world never needed your understanding to be complete. It was never hiding. It was only your obsession with maps that kept you from walking the land. Humanity lives in a dream woven from words. Every thought, every label, every explanation becomes another layer of distance between experience and reality. Most people never meet life directly. They meet the commentary running endlessly inside their minds. They confuse the echo for the original sound, the reflection for the moon itself. This is the great hypnosis of civilization. The belief that naming something gives you power over it, that describing the world is the same as knowing it. We live inside linguistic bubbles, mistaking narratives for existence. A person doesn't encounter a tree, they encounter their concept of tree, shaped by memory, education, and comparison. A lover doesn't see their beloved, they see the story they've written around them. And so reality becomes not what is, but what we say it is. We build religions, philosophies, ideologies, each promising to deliver truth, yet each trapping us in new vocabularies of illusion. Even the idea of awakening becomes another product of thought, another identity for the ego to wear. The seeker reads endless books, attends countless retreats, meditates obsessively, all to achieve something that can't be achieved, because the very effort is part of the dream. What people call progress in consciousness is often just trading one myth for another, one belief system for a more refined one. The tragedy isn't that we're lost, it's that we mistake the map for home. And the more eloquent our explanations become, the deeper the trance. The mind loves to decorate its prison walls with beautiful ideas. It quotes the wise, speaks of enlightenment, and imagines it understands, while never noticing that understanding itself is the veil. The true awakening is not the creation of a better dream, but the end of dreaming altogether. It is the silent recognition that no word has ever touched reality, and yet reality has never been apart from you, not for a single breath. Imagine a child standing outside as the first drops of rain begin to fall. There is no hesitation, no thought of shelter, no concept of getting wet. The child stretches out their hands, eyes wide, face tilted to the sky. Each drop is a small universe, a miracle falling from nowhere. They don't call it rain or weather or a natural phenomenon. It's simply happening, and they are part of it. There is no separation between observer and observed. The sound of water meeting skin, the chill of the wind, the smell of the earth awakening, all of it floods into awareness as one seamless event. And for that brief moment, existence reveals itself in its purest form, direct, raw, untouched by thought. But it doesn't last. Soon, someone tells the child, "This is rain," and the spell is broken. The word enters where wonder once lived. Now, every time it rains, they no longer meet the mystery, they meet the memory of the word. The world slowly becomes familiar, categorized, explained, and therefore dull. This is how innocence is lost, not through sin, but through language. We exchange the vivid unknown for the comfort of recognition. Yet deep inside, we still remember what it felt like to be that child. To see without labeling, to feel without analyzing, to exist without defending ourselves from the immediacy of life. The knowledge that changes everything is not hidden in books or doctrines. It's hidden beneath the noise of knowing itself. It's the rediscovery of perception before identity, experience before interpretation. To see again like a child is not regression. It is the return to sanity. It is to meet life as it truly is, alive, spontaneous, immeasurable. When you drop the words, even for a moment, the ordinary becomes sacred again. The rain is no longer rain. It is life itself, falling into your open hands. Here lies the real secret, the one that undoes every search. You are not the thinker inside your head. You are not the voice narrating your life, analyzing, judging, planning, regretting. That voice is not the essence of you. It is a sound arising within what you truly are. You are the awareness that hears it. For years, perhaps lifetimes, you've been hypnotized by this voice, mistaking its commentary for consciousness itself. It says, "I must awaken, I must understand, I must find peace." And so the chase continues endlessly, thought pursuing thought in circles. But the observer of that chase, the still silent presence that notices every movement, never changes. It was there when you were a child, it is here now, and it will be here long after the voice has shifted its story 1,000 times. The real knowledge is not something added to the mind, but the discovery of what remains when the noise subsides. It is not an attainment, but a remembering that you have always been the space in which everything appears. Thoughts, sensations, emotions, worlds. You are not a separate fragment inside the universe trying to comprehend it. You are the universe in conscious form, pretending for a while to be a question in search of an answer. The wave forgets it is the ocean and begins to feel isolated, anxious, desperate for reunion, yet the entire time it never left the sea. The seeker is simply the universe folded upon itself, playing hide and seek. Every meditation, every realization, every fall and awakening is part of this cosmic game of remembering. When you stop identifying with the voice and rest as the awareness behind it, the illusion of distance collapses. There is no seeker and no sought, only the seamless field of being quietly observing itself. This is the end of the search and the beginning of seeing. You are not in the dream is happening in you. When that realization dawns, something profound yet utterly simple occurs. The line that once separated you from everything else quietly disappears. The world you once thought you were living in is revealed to be living through you. The knower and the known are no longer 2 points in opposition. They are one continuous movement, like the crest and the trough of the same wave. The seeker realizes that the search was never a journey from ignorance to enlightenment, but an eternal play of recognition within a single consciousness. The wave doesn't return to the ocean. It remembers that it was never anything but oceanic. This is not a mystical abstraction, but the most direct fact of existence. Every contrast, every polarity, light and shadow, inhale and exhale, joy and sorrow, exists only through its opposite. Up makes sense only because down exists. Self has meaning only because of other. The illusion is not that duality exists, but that the poles are separate. In truth, they are the same dance, one rhythm expressing itself as two. What we call existence is not a collection of independent things bumping into each other in space. It is a seamless web of interdependence, every part shaping and being shaped by the whole. You cannot lift your hand without moving the air around it. You cannot breathe without the trees. You cannot exist without the sun. Even thought itself depends on silence for its meaning. This interconnection is not poetic sentiment. It is ontology, the very structure of being. The secret knowledge reveals that nothing stands alone, that every atom, every emotion, every heartbeat is the cosmos experiencing itself from a particular angle. When you truly feel this, the entire notion of isolation collapses. Compassion stops being a moral duty and becomes an instinct, because harming another would be like cutting your own skin. In that recognition, life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes a symphony, one infinite movement playing itself through every note, including you. At some point you begin to notice that the sense of being a doer, of steering life toward an imagined goal, is an illusion sustained by habit. The body breathes, the heart beats, thoughts arise, actions unfold, all without any central authority commanding them. Even what you call your decisions are movements within a vast orchestration that began long before you were born. When this is seen clearly, something remarkable happens. Effort softens into alignment. The will to control, to correct, to perfect reality loses its urgency. You recognize that life doesn't need your supervision. It was never yours to manage. The current of existence is carrying you the same way it carries the stars, the tides, and the wind. The controller and the controlled are not two. They are one expression of the same unfolding moment. And when that insight sinks in, fear dissolves. You realize there was never anyone behind the wheel, and yet everything moves in harmony. This isn't chaos, it's freedom. It's the quiet revelation that what you called your life is the universe dancing itself into form, perfectly spontaneous, perfectly complete. Everything you've ever experienced has unfolded in one unbroken moment. This one. The mind divides it into fragments called past and future, but those are only thoughts appearing now. The past is memory replaying in the present. The future is imagination projected from the present. Reality itself never moves. It's always this: the breath, the heartbeat, the sound in the distance, the quiet awareness holding it all. Once this is seen, the chase for meaning dissolves. You realize that life was never waiting to begin after you achieved something, learned something, or purified yourself enough. It has always been happening, effortlessly, right here. The entire search for enlightenment collapses into the immediacy of this moment. You can't grasp it because you are it. You can't lose it because there's nowhere else to go. The great revelation is painfully simple. The truth you've been seeking is not hidden in time. It is the timeless presence in which time appears. Everything you've ever loved or feared has been arising in the same infinite now, quietly aware of itself through you. When the inner commentary finally exhausts itself, when the mind no longer feels the need to label, justify, or interpret, something infinitely simple begins to reveal itself. See it as not a new state to achieve, but the ever-present background that was here before every thought, pure awareness. It shines without effort, silent, yet undeniable, like the still air holding every sound. It doesn't speak, but everything that can be said arises within it. You can't grasp it because you are it. You can't observe it because it's the very seeing itself. Mystics across centuries have pointed toward this, knowing that words can only circle it like planets around a sun they cannot touch. The moment you try to describe it, it becomes an object, and the light disappears behind the hand that tries to hold it. This awareness needs no defense, no validation, no purpose. It is peace without opposite, clarity without boundary. The universe breathes through it, and yet it remains utterly still, luminous, self-aware, beyond all explanation. When the silence settles in and awareness stands unobstructed, life begins again. Yet it feels utterly transformed. You still wake up, brush your teeth, answer messages, make mistakes and fall in love, but everything carries a different texture. The old tension, that subtle striving to become something, has dissolved. What remains is simplicity, a fluid ease in every movement. Events happen, thoughts appear, emotions pass, but none of it defines you anymore. You no longer resist what arises or cling to what fades. The mind still tells its stories, but you hear them as passing weather, interesting, sometimes dramatic, but never ultimate. You wear your identity lightly, as one might wear a costume in a play, fully participating yet inwardly free. The difference is not withdrawal, but intimacy. You finally meet life without the barrier of interpretation. Joy deepens because it no longer depends on conditions. Sorrow becomes gentle because it's not mistaken for failure. Existence reveals itself as a dance of form and formlessness, an eternal play between what changes and what witnesses change. You are both simultaneously and therefore at peace. Stop chasing mysteries as if truth were buried somewhere beyond your reach. The real secret was never concealed. It's woven into every breath, every flicker of awareness passing through you now. Listen to the hum of the world, the faint rhythm of your heartbeat, the quiet pulse of existence moving through everything. This is not preparation for enlightenment. This is enlightenment, disguised as the ordinary. The universe isn't withholding wisdom. It is whispering it constantly through the immediacy of this moment. You've been so busy interpreting life that you've forgotten how to experience it. Let the analysis go, let the seeking rest. Taste the raw texture of being as it unfolds, unfiltered and alive. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the right understanding. There isn't one. The sacred is not found in thought, but in the awareness noticing thought. What you've been chasing is what's looking. The game was never about discovery, but recognition. The truth you've been searching for is breathing you right now, quiet, complete, unhidden.